This is the single biggest trap in the entirety of Genshin Impact. Please do not do this. Of course, what am I talking about? I am talking about the new weapon banner that just dropped. Well, not the banner didn't drop. It's just the info of the banner. But we're going to look at it. And I want to talk about what's good and what's not in our normal banner review fashion. So we're going to talk about Kokomi's banner and Kokomi's weapon banner and the good and bad of both these banners. As you can see, the event wish screen has been updated in Genshin Impact. So if you want to check these out for yourself, you can just log right in and they should be updated. But let's kind of just review like what we have on these banners so far. So looking at this first banner, it's Kokomi, Rosaria, Beidou, and Xingqiu. This banner is insanely good value. And I'm going to tell you guys why it's insanely good value. But most of you guys probably already know, like Beidou is crazy good as a unit. Xingqiu is crazy good as a unit. In fact, Beidou is one of the best off-field DPS in the game. Xingqiu is one of the best vaporize enablers in the entire game. You should absolutely have both of these units. Rosaria is actually not that bad. She's not used too often, but the big thing for her is that she hasn't appeared on very many banners, so her coming back is a really big deal. So highly sought after character, and then two highly used characters. This banner for the 4 stars is amazing. Regardless of whether or not you want Kokomi, you cannot deny that these 4 stars are good. So I'll talk about each one specifically. So Xingqiu, if you're new to the game, or if you're just looking for a good Hydro unit to have, Xingqiu does a ton of damage with his elemental burst and his elemental skill. His elemental skill actually hits like other characters' elemental burst. It does so much damage, and whenever you attack, it throws rain swords at someone. So Xingqiu being able to do that means that you're able to constantly vaporize with Pyro DPS. He is a must-have for all Pyro DPS currently in the game. You could argue you don't need him for Klee, but he definitely helps, right? Like in any team, really. And then Beidou, of course, as many people have been putting out a lot of Beidou content lately, Beidou just does a ton of damage with her burst. She has a counter that's super strong and like a one pump sort of big hit of damage that you can use. Her counter is super great for that. So Beidou is very strong, very worth the pull, especially since her constellations give her a ton of value and her burst has such high scaling. And as I stated before, Rosaria is just a good burst DPS. Also gives your team crit rate when she's off the field and very rare. So ultimately, these 3 units are super freaking good. Kokomi, you can make whatever judgments you want about her. I just put out a video that a lot of people got pissed off about. You can pull her if you want her. If not, then don't pull her. I personally will be skipping her because I feel that every single healer in the game is good enough for me. I don't necessarily need another one. But if you like her character, go ahead and pull for her there. I think that if you're on the fence about pulling on this banner, if you have a 50-50 guarantee, like if you know you're going to 100% get the event character and you're not sure if you want to pull in this because you're saving for reruns, I would say the safest bet is to just skip it. It sucks to skip 4 stars, but it is just way too risky if you're about to win a 50-50. However, if you have not guaranteed your 50-50 yet, you can definitely pull on this. There's still a chance you'll get Kokomi, and if you want Kokomi, that's great. And if you don't want Kokomi, but you don't have that guarantee, I really don't think there's much to lose. But that's my opinion on it. You guys are obviously free to do whatever you want. That's my advice for this banner. I do think the 4 stars are definitely worth pulling for. I just wouldn't risk a guarantee on Kokomi if you don't want Kokomi. Overall, this banner is insanely good value though. But this banner cannot save Genshin Impact from the shitstorm they are going to receive for this fucking banner right here. This is the biggest bullshit thing I have ever seen MIHOYO pull. And a lot of us thought it might happen. A lot of us were thinking that Homa and Jade Cutter were due for a rerun. But here's the main issue, okay? It's not that it's Kokomi's weapon. It's that Kokomi's weapon literally doesn't work with anyone else. And I'm going to show you Kokomi's weapon and stats and tell you why. On screen, you can see the effects of the weapon. So it gives you almost 50% HP. We'll just round that up to 50% HP. Base attack of 608. So decent base attack. Obviously, it's a 5-star. And the effect reads healing bonus increased by 10%. Normal attack damage is increased by 1% of the max HP of the character equipping this weapon. For 12 seconds after using an elemental burst, normal attacks that hit opponents will restore 0.6 energy. Energy can be restored this way once every 0.1 seconds. On paper, this is just like Catalyst of Homa, right? It's pretty damn strong, except for the fact that when you consider every other character in the cast, literally not a single one of them is going to get a good value from this weapon in comparison to like many of the other weapons on the roster, including 4-star weapons. There are 4-star weapons that I can guarantee you are going to beat this out by miles on every character except for Kokomi. So this looks like, obviously it's tailor-made for Kokomi. It gives HP. Kokomi's kit scales off of HP. Healing bonus increase. She's a healer. Normal attack damage increase. This means that Kokomi's going to be a normal attacker, not a charged attacker, which is one of the biggest problems with this because you could argue it's for Barbara. You could argue that it would be good with Barbara, but Barbara's insane scaling is on her charged attacks. It is not on her normal attacks. And that means that this weapon doesn't really benefit her much, especially because her elemental burst doesn't really do anything for her except for heal the team, right? So ultimately, this weapon cannot be used on anyone as a best in slot weapon except for Kokomi. And for that reason, it makes Jade Cutter not worth pulling for at all unless you're a whale, in my opinion. Because if you think about it this way, if you think about the fact that Jade Cutter is like easily the best sword in the game in terms of flexibility, it has 44 crit rate at max. It's absolutely insane. And it gives you attack based on your HP, like literally the dream's sword. This is weapon. I want it so bad. I'm considering whaling on this banner. But if you can't whale on this banner, if you don't have Kokomi, there is no reason that you should risk getting Kokomi's weapon. Like if you put this into context, if you go to pity for this weapon, let's say you go to 65 for this weapon, and then you go to 65 and you get a Jade Cutter right after that. You had to do 130 pulls for one 5-star because you're never going to use the other 5-star. You were never going to use Everlasting Mooncloak. And sure, a lot of people are probably going to get lucky. They're going to go in there, roll Jade Cutter, and get out without getting an Everlasting Mooncloak if they don't have Kokomi, and they're going to be like happy campers. Don't make the mistake of assuming that's going to be you. If you have the money to spend, this is fair game. Go for it. That's amazing. Or if you're getting Kokomi, this is an absolute win for you. If you have Kokomi, this is like the best banner you could have ever asked for. But if you are not pulling Kokomi, this is the plague. Stay away from this thing. Do not get anywhere near this. This is a trap. This is the biggest trap I've ever seen. And that's just talking about the 5-stars. We haven't even looked at the 4-stars. The 4-star, the flute. Okay, so the flute is not a bad weapon, but it's nowhere near the best weapon for any character. Ultimately, the flute is just not that good of a weapon in comparison to a lot of other options on the banner, like Sack's sword when that comes up. Favonius Greatsword, I don't know a lot of characters that use Favonius Greatsword. It can be good for characters that need ER. However, that's not a lot of the Claymore cast. Dragon's Bane is a really good polearm for Xiangling and Hu Tao. However, the catch exists, and the catch for Xiangling at least is much better than Dragon's Bane, much better option, way more flexible. So ultimately, Dragon's Bane isn't super necessary for you anymore. And Favonius Codex has the same problem as the flute and Favonius Claymore, where it's just like, it's okay if you're free to play, but it's not good. It's not what you're going for. Stringless Bow is actually really good. Stringless is a really solid weapon for Venti, Fischl. You could even make the argument for Sara if you're just trying to get burst damage, though its attack isn't super great. But Stringless is like an okay weapon. So, but we're basically, like if we're putting value into this, Jade Cutter, best sword in the game in my opinion. Stringless, extremely good 4-star bow, definitely good. Easily the worst weapon in the game, Everlasting Moonglow. Like there is no reason to pull this unless you're pulling for Kokomi. Only if you have Kokomi is this weapon not the worst weapon in the game. That is the only condition under which this is not the worst weapon. So looking back at these banners, I needed to put out this video because I need you guys to know that this is such a bad idea. This banner is like, there are going to be so many people that are upset. I can already see the comments from people going, I'm going to pull on it anyways. And then their comments later about how they're so sad that they pulled, because this happens every single time. So ultimately, I guess wrapping up this whole like banner review thing, because you guys just, you need to be aware of what you're getting yourself into, right? The Kokomi banner, the 4-stars on Kokomi's banner are amazing. And MIHOYO knew that less people were going to roll on Kokomi because more people are rolling on Raiden and then saving for Ganyu rerun and Hu Tao rerun and things like that. They overloaded this banner with 6 supports. That's what they were planning on doing. They gave 6 supports on this banner. You could even call them DPS. They just put 6 4-stars on this banner because they knew that you wouldn't be rolling on it unless you wanted Kokomi, which is just less people than they were anticipating. And then the other portion of that is if less people are going for Kokomi, way less people are going to be going for her weapon. In fact, even whales probably won't even go for this weapon. I can guarantee you some of the bigger streamers even won't touch it. Obviously, Tectone's going to probably go for like R1 C0 on Kokomi and her weapon. Tenha and Razor will probably go for R5 of these, but other streamers that usually whale probably won't even go near these unless they're doing it for content. And I mean, if that doesn't say how bad the situation is for this weapon and this banner in particular, I don't know what else does. So do yourselves a favor, you guys. Do not roll in this weapon banner unless you either A, have Kokomi, or B, are whaling until you hit pity and can guarantee that Jade Cutter, because I swear it literally could not be worse than this. I mean, I guess I could put the bell on it or something, but save your primos. See ya.